Go lay down, doggy. Go lay down. Oh, my nose is so stuffy. Oh, super stuffy. Okay. Just gonna put something on. Hello. Hello, Lita. Welcome back. I'm going to do Kung Fu today. But I'm looking for something to put on in the meantime, in the background, while I do Kung Fu. I need to practice my forms, because my forms, I'm really out of whack with my forms. So, I was going to practice my forms, and hopefully I do enough Kung Fu, and then my nose is not stuffy anymore. Maybe I can also lift some weights too, as well as do forms. My goal is to do Kung Fu forms and maybe lift weights. Hey, Frank, get down. Get off. Get down. Get down.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chris Ramsey, and welcome back to yet another episode of Debriefed. And today we are going to be continuing our read-through of the Alien Interview by Lawrence R. Spencer. Allegedly, 1947, this nurse was given permission, or she was the only one able to communicate with the last surviving.
I can feel my back tightening so badly.
Roswell, and since then has sent her notes to the author here. And he took the
I used to be really good at doing my Kung Fu forms, but I'm so out of practice and rusty.
Person and an alien, and the alien known as Errol, who identifies as an Isby, an Isby being the spirit that inhabits all living sentient beings, including ourselves, has revealed to us that they've been monitoring and visiting Earth for thousands of years. And Errol, as a matter of fact, is over, I think, close to 500 million years old.
Oh,
I don't know.
shoot.
This story gets a little wild.
I'm out of practice to get my balance and stuff.
Even wilder. Before we get started, there are multiple ways that you guys can help out Area 52 if you want to do that for free. You know, obviously, leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, but also, if you're listening to this on iTunes or Spotify, leave us a review there. A 5-star review goes a long way. If you want to take it one step further, you can visit area52.shop. We got some merch, not much left because it keeps selling out. Thanks to you guys, but we got some stuff there that you guys can check out. And lastly, if you really want to support what we do, go ahead and become an intern at Area 52, otherwise known as joining the memberships or the Patreon. You get weekly vlogs, access to the archive, and so much more, including early access to these videos. So all of the interns actually got these videos early. If you want to do that, go ahead and do that. Folks, we paid the bills. It is time to continue with our read-through. Let's get into it. Yeah, we left off talking about how space travel technologies started 80 trillion years ago. Yeah, I guess quick little reminder to check the disbelief at the door, at least for the next hour or so. It'll be right where you left it when you choose to pick it back up. But I often like reminding people that, you know, you don't have to be religious to read the Bible. You don't have to be a physicist to read physics books, although you probably have to be a physicist to understand what's in the physics books, but you can read them without becoming a physicist
Fang,
That's it.
what are you doing?
Only when we have a strong conviction about something do we become defensive about that stance. That's usually what we're seeing in these arguments in the community and everything else. So, just take it as information. All right, let's go. Errol described the abilities of an ISB officer of the domain to me, and she demonstrated one to me when she contacted telepathically a communications officer of the domain who is stationed in the asteroid belt. Whoa. So Errol's got some type of Wi-Fi, communication going here with the domain in the asteroid belt. The asteroid belt is composed of thousands of broken up pieces of a planet that once existed between Mars and Jupiter. It serves as a low gravity jumping off point for incoming spacecraft traveling toward the center of our galaxy. She requested that this officer consult information stored in the files of the domain concerning the history of Earth. She asked the communications officer to feed this information to Errol. The communications officer immediately complied with the request. Based on the information stored in the files of the domain, Errol was able to give me a brief overview or history lesson. This is what Errol told me that the domain had observed about the history of Earth. Okay, here we go. She told me that the domain expeditionary force first entered the Milky Way galaxy very recently, only about 10,000 years ago. Their first action was to conquer the home planets of the Old Empire. This is not the official name, but a nickname given to the conquered civilization by the domain forces. The Old Empire that served as the seat of central government for this galaxy and other adjoining regions of space. These planets are located in the star systems at the tail of the Big Dipper constellation. She did not mention which stars exactly. About 1,500 years later, the domain began the installation bases for their forces along the path of invasion, which led towards the center of this galaxy and beyond. About 8,200 years ago, the domain forces set up a base on Earth in the Himalaya Mountains, near the border of modern Pakistan and Afghanistan. This was a base for a battalion of the domain expeditionary force, which included about 3,000 members.
Immerse yourself in a world total moisture without swash. The natural ingredient that infinitely moisturize your body and mind. Take a bite out of life. Dr. Swash total moisture. Everybody feel it come around, around. Everybody feel it come around, around. Everybody feel it come around, around.
I forget how it goes.
Something is about what's first in you. So there is no other place with so close relationships between.
This is sounding a lot more like Star Wars. And, the beauty about Star Wars and the reason why I think it gained so much popularity is because at some level, it resonates true with our own perspective of what the universe or what the galaxies might be like if they were inhabited by, an empire. And that's the one thing I will say about this topic in particular, especially when I hear about the Galactic Federation and things like that. Like, I want nothing more, let's be clear, than for all of this to be real. I mean, if this is real, then to some extent, Jedi Force and lightsabers are real. Right? I mean, where are we going to draw the line here? Alright, they set up a base under or inside the top of a mountain. The mountain was drilled into and made hollow to create an area large enough to house the ships and personnel of that force. An electronic illusion of the mountaintop was created to hide the base by projecting a false image from inside the mountain against a force screen. The ships could then enter and exit through the force screen, yet remain unseen by Homo sapiens. This is interesting because in the Lacerda files, which we've read, which was a reptilian who, they said they lived underground, they also had something similar. It wasn't a force screen necessarily, unless we're talking about the same thing, but I think the one that Lacerda described was something that interfaced with human beings' perception of things. So they didn't actually have to distort anything visually, they just had to distort the impression of it in our minds. Shortly after they settled there, the base was surprised by an attack from a remnant of the military forces of the Old Empire. Unbeknownst to the domain, a hidden underground base base on Mars, operated by the Old Empire, had existed for a very long time. The domain base was wiped out by the military attack from the Mars base, and the ISBs of the Domain Expeditionary Force were captured. You can imagine that the Domain was very upset about losing such a large force of officers and crew, so they sent other crews to Earth to look for them. Those crews were also attacked. The captured ISBs from the Domain forces were handled in the same fashion as all other ISBs who have been sent to Earth. They were each given amnesia,
my back.
had their memories replaced with false pictures, and hypnotic commands, and sent to Earth to inhabit biological bodies. They are still a part of the human population today. Whoa! Hold on a second. Wait, what? What are we talking about here? Are we saying that some of these ISBs are among us, and they don't know it? Whoa. After a very persistent and extensive investigation into the loss of their crews, the Domain discovered that Old Empire had been operating a very extensive and carefully hidden base of operations in this part of the galaxy for millions of years. No one knows exactly how long. Eventually, the spacecraft of the Old Empire forces and the Domain engaged each other in open combat in the space of the solar system. I wonder if this could be the war that Lacerda was also referring to, but I feel like that war was much older. But perhaps this is... No, actually it was that, because it was like the Younger Dryas, right? It was like 10,000 years ago or something like that. According to Arrow, there was a running battle between the Old Empire forces and the Domain until about 1235 AD.
You know, I don't like every move in the Kung Fu forms. There's many moves. Some moves I really like, some moves I don't care for. And then some moves I happen to just naturally do if I'm trying to spar and stuff.
Was discovered by accident in the spring of 1914. The discovery was made when the body
And then some just feel like
was
poses
taken over in
or
Rhodes
stances
by
that make my
officer
body
of the
feel
Domain
good.
Expeditionary Force. This officer, who was
So it's
stationed
kind of
in the
interesting.
asteroid belt, was sent to Earth on a routine mission to gather reconnaissance. Okay, hold on. So they sent one of the ISB
Like this
spirits
punch.
down to take
Like,
over this Archduke of
I'm never gonna
Austria.
punch anybody like that. At least I don't think I am, you know, realistically. And when I spar,
Might be Franz Ferdinand.
I tend to stand more regular.
Archduke of Austria.
Maybe I'll go like this. Maybe I'll be like this kind of jab. But if I have my hand here, you're just so open. So I don't think that I'm gonna do that kind of punch. But I think the turning part, I do the turning part, which is more realistic. I think that's the part that is important in the motion. When I'm here, this turning part of being like, something about it, it just allows me to, I don't know, it adds a little bit more to my punching. A little more motion, a little more torque to my punching.
However, this officer did not realize how much
Or it feels that way.
were hated by feuding factions in the country. So he was caught off guard when the body of the Archduke was assassinated by a Bosnian student. The officer, or ISB, was suddenly knocked out of the body. When it was shot by the assassin, disoriented, ISB inadvertently penetrated one of the amnesia force screens and was captured.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, okay. So the ISB leaves the body of the Archduke, penetrates
feel
the
his
force
back.
screen, gets captured by, I'm guessing, the Empire. Eventually, the Domain discovered that a wide area of space is monitored by an electronic force field, which controls all of the ISBs in the end of the galaxy, in this end of the galaxy, including Earth. The electronic force screen is designed to detect ISBs and prevent them from leaving this area. Whoa. If an ISB attempts to penetrate the force screen, it captures them in a kind of electronic net. The result is that the captured ISB is subjected to a very severe brainwashing treatment, which erases the memory of the ISB. This process uses a tremendous electrical shock, just like Earth psychiatrists use electric shock therapy to erase the memory and personality of a patient and and to make them more cooperative. Whoa, that's crazy. So, like, anyone who dies when their spirit goes, they're zapped if they go past this barrier. And then their memories are once again erased and they have to go back. On Earth, this therapy uses only a few hundred volts of electricity. However, the electrical voltage used by the old Empire operation against ISB is on the order of magnitude of millions of volts. This tremendous shock completely wipes out all memory of the ISB. The memory erasure is not just for one life or one body. It wipes out all of the accumulated experiences of the nearly infinite past, as well as the identity of the ISB. The shock is intended to make it impossible for the ISB to remember who they are, where they came from, their knowledge or skills, their memory of the past, and ability to function as a spiritual entity. They are overwhelmed into becoming a mindless, robotic
Kilala, move.
entity.
Hey,
Whoa,
Kilala,
so they're
move.
out here creating
Kilala,
NPCs,
move, kitty.
is what I'm
Ya,
gathering
muévete,
from
muévete.
this. But only if
Muévete.
you sort of go out of line, only if you try to escape the Matrix, which is wild because if you have seen the recent interview featuring Matt Brown, a whistleblower,
No,
this interview was
Kilala.
conducted by George Knapp and
No,
Jeremy
come on,
Corbell
kitty.
his show Weaponized. It was a 3-part series, very fascinating. But this guy came across the documents now known, now presented to Congress as Immaculate Constellation, which we've covered. If you want to see the entire read-through of that document, very fascinating. Go and check that out. But he does mention a few cryptic things.
I think humanity, to some level, is a resource for them. Possibly a commodity.
Kilala.
Possibly
Hey, Kilala.
entertainment. Possibly medical related. We live in the Matrix. You are not free. And this reality has far more to it than you have been allowed to believe.
That Matrix comment really gels with what we're talking about here. It also really coalesces with, the container idea. Ooh, I don't like the sound of this. Alright, let's keep reading. After the shock, a series of post-hypnotic suggestions are used to install false memories and a false time orientation in each ISB. This includes the command to return to the base after the body dies, so that the same kind of shock and hypnosis can be done again and again, forever. The hypnotic command also tells the patient to forget to remember. What the domain learned from the experience of this officer is that the old Empire has been using Earth as a prison planet for a very long time. Exactly how long is unknown, perhaps millions of years. Whoa. What's interesting about this theory, because I've heard this theory before, but it's almost like the sort of karmic circle that we're trying to escape, but we keep having to sort of relive something. I've also heard people,
Am I missing something? I think I'm missing
I
something.
think, have looked into this as well and have found some technology suppressing the souls. I don't even know, right? It's very fringe stuff, but I've heard, like, when you pass and you see the light, that's actually like that's a ruse, right? That's like, don't go towards it, because that's maybe what this is. Whoa.
After my car wreck, there was a lot I didn't know.
I didn't know a lawyer could help me recover lost wages.
I didn't know the insurance company would.
It's been so long since I've done it, I have to remember.
Crazy to think about, dude. That's so dark, One thing I always think about is, what is so dark that when somebody finds out what the secret of the phenomenon is, they refuse to share it with others? What is that? How can it be so bad? Because if it's good, then there's no reason to keep it secret, right? I think Matt Brown talks about that as well. There's no reason to keep it secret if it's good. So, okay, let's say it is bad.
My nose got unplugged in the middle of
It's
that.
gotta be pretty bad.
What's up, Angela? Hello.
Like that much of a secret, because I think
Cringe, buddy. Just go learn. No, I already do that. I already do those things.
but I'm saying, as
Doesn't make any sense.
what would that be?
No, there's videos of me training in my page. If you guys go to my main videos on YouTube, right here on this very channel, there's videos of me competing and training and practicing like in kickboxing. So this guy right here, Firework Sauce, he's just talking out of his ass. He's probably just kind of one of those loser kids. Because it doesn't take more than just clicking on my page to go see that even though I do kung fu, when I compete in like kickboxing and stuff, kung fu just works. It's just like any other martial art. You practice it and it works. If you don't practice it for like sports fighting, it's not gonna work. So this guy, I don't believe he actually trains because he probably doesn't upload anything. Sorry, guy. Sorry, it's like that. Hello. Hello, Joey Curry. Gooey Curry. Yeah, guys. I'm doing kung fu because it's hard, and I wanna get better at kung fu. But I do kickboxing and like Muay Thai. If you go to my page right here on my main page, I make videos of me sparring with kung fu and kickboxing and stuff like that. Like it's not crazy. People like this guy above 2 comments above, they just talk when they don't really know what's happening. They don't understand shit. They're very. I don't even think he trains, to be honest with you. He's just kind of talking shit. Right now we're doing forms, trying to warm up, trying to get good at doing forms again. Because I've been, funny enough, I've been focusing on kickboxing so much and not enough kung fu. So now I feel like I'm losing my purpose. And I don't want to just be about just punching and kicking. I want the ability of doing stuff differently that comes with kung fu. I want that ability back. So the only way I can think about how to get it is by practicing the forms that I used to practice before I got super into like kickboxing and stuff like that years ago. Before I did the shifts. Now that I've learned, I'm mixing the shifts, both sides back. But the thing is that it's kung fu, so the only way to practice it is to do the forms and stuff. There's no way around that. So that's why, like, when I practice kickboxing, it's just. So it's just I just shadow box, or just go spar. But when I practice kung fu, you have to do the forms. There's no way around it.
I think Lawrence R. Spencer is a fiction, obviously a non-fiction or science fiction writer, but the depth of lore here, I mean, it's really, really deep. And I don't want to call, Lawrence an amateur writer, because I don't think he's an amateur writer. But I mean, this is so deep. It's easy to chalk it up to, this guy just made it.
Let's begin with the training. Okay, let's go, Graham. So our goal is to get good at forms. All right, so let's keep doing that.
I think that deserves merit in and of itself. Untouchables also include intellectuals, inventors, geniuses in almost every field. Since everything the old empire considers valuable has long since been invented or created over the last few trillion years.
After
no further use for such beings. This includes skilled managers also, which are not needed in a society of obedient robotic citizens. We're trapped with all the Karens here, folks. Anyone who is not willing or able to submit to mindless economic, political, and religious servitude as a tax-paying worker
Hey, just shake my head.
of the old empire are untouchable and sentenced to receive memory wipeout and permanent imprisonment on Earth. The net result is that the ISB is unable to escape because they can't remember who they are, where they came from, where they are. They've been hypnotized to think they're someone, something, sometime, and somewhere other than where they really are. The domain officer who was assassinated while in the body of Archduke of Austria was likewise captured by the old Empire force. Because this particular officer was a high-powered ISB, compared to most, he was taken away to a secret old Empire base base under the surface of the planet Mars. They put him into a special electronic prison cell and held him there. Fortunately, this domain officer was able to escape from the underground base after 27 years in captivity. When he escaped from the old Empire base, he returned immediately to his own base in the asteroid belt. His commanding officer ordered that a battle cruiser be dispatched to the coordinates of the base provided by his officer and to destroy that base completely. This old Empire base was located a few hundred miles north of the equator on Mars in the Sidonia region.
Robinhood's new desktop trading platform is changing the game on how you can trade equities, options, and more.
I feel like my balance is off on stuff. I gotta practice I gotta basically practice again all over.
You can build from scratch and start with a template.
I gotta reteach myself a bunch of shit.
It is interesting, just right here, because this is all just notes. This is all apparently Matilda's translation of the being's telepathic communications to her. Pretty intense and extensive, and like rather detailed, I would say. Like almost a little too detailed. You know what I mean? This is turning slowly into just a book and less of a transcript. You feel me on that? Maybe I'm just looking for a reason for this not to be true at this point. You know, I might be. But still fascinating, man. Although the military base of the old Empire was destroyed, unfortunately most of the vast machinery of the ISB-4 screens, the electroshock amnesia, hypnosis machinery continues to function in other discovered locations right up to the present moment. The main base or control center for this mind control prison operation has never been found. So the influences of this base or bases are still in effect. The domain has observed that since the old Empire space forces were destroyed, there is no one left to actively prevent the planetary systems from bringing their own untouchable ISBs to Earth from all over this galaxy and from other galaxies nearby. Therefore, Earth has become a universal dumping ground for this entire region of space. Now this is ringing true. This is kind of hitting home. This in part explains the very unusual mix of races, cultures, languages, moral codes, religious and political influences among the ISB population on Earth. The number and variety of heterogeneous societies on Earth are extremely unusual on a normal planet. Most Sun-type 12 Class 7 planets are inhabited by only one humanoid body type or race, if any. In addition, most of the
I do not like this move.
civilizations of Earth
I don't really understand it, but it's part of the form, so I do it.
So far, no one has figured out exactly
But do I do it when training?
how this
I mean, I do like a
operation
front teep,
by
but
who,
not that.
because it is so heavily protected by screens and traps. Furthermore, there's been no operation undertaken to seek out, discover, and destroy the vast and ancient networks of electronics machinery that create the ISB-4 screens at this end of the galaxy. Until this has been done, we are not able to prevent or interrupt the electric shock operation, hypnosis, and remote thought control of the old Empire prison planet. Of course, all of the crew members of the Domain Expeditionary Force now remain aware of this phenomenon at all times while operating in this solar system space, so as to prevent detection and the capture by old Empire traps. Huh. I don't know how y'all are feeling about this, but I'm feeling a little, I don't like it, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it feels like there is hope in this universe, right? Perhaps this secret war going on between governments or ungovernmented factions of the special forces, perhaps what's happening right now is they're trying to get a hold of this base and destroy it. You know, that would be a cool thing. I would love for that to be the secret. You know, this whole time we're thinking, no, the U.S. government is completely nefarious and they're hiding things from us for our detriment. When in reality,
Like
they're
this move,
actually fighting this secret
I don't
war, trying to
ever plan on
free
using
our
it,
souls. That would be
so I
such a
don't really
cool
know
plot
what
for a movie.
what it's
Oh
for.
my God.
I just know it's part of the form.
We proceed to the chunkier half of this read-through. Chapter 8, A Lesson in Recent History. Matilda's personal note, and the only little note that exists. This interview taught me to see it in this read through, but even knowing what I was getting into is still kind of upsetting.
Here we see our modern HR professional being unpaid for attending a housewarming party.
It's actually a birthday party.
Watch as Anne consumes when she realizes she's going to miss the celebratory rituals of her.
Dad. Payroll says he moved back for HR.
But,
Chang, that's not cat food.
Dad.
Please find someone that doesn't have bamboo HR. I would get the fine and speak about this. Make documentaries, they said. It's perfect, they said.
The Domain Expeditionary Force has observed a resurgence in the science.
Do some Steven Seagal shit. That's funny.
Since 1158,
I'm just practicing kung fu forms.
space fleet of the old empire
I cannot do a backflip.
were destroyed.
Now we're talking.
The influence of the remote control hypnosis operation diminished slightly after that time, but still remains largely in force.
No, I'm just kind of hanging out and doing kung fu, practicing kung fu forms so I get good at them again.
Remote mind control
Um,
operations resulted in a
I compete in like kickboxing and stuff like that, or like I train kickboxing most of the time. It's just I also do kung fu.
technologies.
But if you want to see me sparring or like doing a kickboxing event, it's on my channel, on this YouTube channel.
Of knowledge that is called
Like
the Dark Ages.
I have several videos of just like sparring and a breakdown.
Saying the Dark Ages
One time where I spar everybody at the MMA school, open palm martial arts.
sort of.
One time I did a kickboxing event at a Dancing Bear in Missouri.
The one thing I find
So
interesting
like,
is that they say
kung fu works. You just gotta do it the right way.
memories,
You just gotta practice.
the shock was so strong that it would completely erase
Hey, Finn, that's not cat food.
memory of their almost
Lovey, don't let these
infinite
motherfuckers eat
existence.
his food.
And now we
Don't let
take
them eat
down
your
a few of
food.
these things and suddenly, oh, memories coming back? Is it this suppression
No,
system
not cat
that's
food.
keeping the memories from coming back?
That's not
Is it
cat
this
food.
electronic shock that's completely erasing them, or is it a mix of both? I don't know. Since then, the knowledge of the basic laws of physics and electricity have revolutionized Earth's culture virtually overnight. The ability to
That's
remember
not cat
technology
food.
by many of the
Hey,
geniuses in the ISB
that's not cat
population
food.
of Earth was
No.
partially restored when not so
You're
actively
chunky.
suppressed as
No.
it was before 1150. Sir Isaac Newton
He's hella
saw this
chunky. He doesn't need more
this.
cat food.
In only a few decades, he single-handedly reinvented several major and
Wanting to see you in the no, I'm not gonna be in the UFC. I'm just like amateur level, like a little bit above amateur perhaps. Like yeah, sure I can beat some people, but there's obviously pros. When I spar with pros, I can tell where I'm at. Put it that way. When I happen to spar with people that are in the MMA gym that are professionals, or like a professionals in town, and he gets to like spar, I can tell how far ahead they are of me. You know.
or discover as much about science
Above amateur? No, 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 no. Like when I no, because that's what people. That's just what people say about me. Like when I spar with them and I tell them, you know, like I don't really compete. I just kind of like practice martial arts and chill. And I've been doing it since I was a teenager. You know. They're like they think I compete all the time, and I don't compete all the time. Just every now and then, like super chill stuff. Not even anything super serious. Just like an exhibition match or like. Or I like to go to like open sparring nights at MMA gyms and stuff like that. Like that to me, I like that kind of stuff because as I do kung fu, I test it against other martial arts because that makes sense. Otherwise, you wouldn't know if it works or not, you know? So like I'm at a point in life where I know it works or I know what I'm doing works. Now it's more about like I want to gain experience and I want to be better at my kung fu forms.
similar advances have not been seen in the human
Show some skill and it's like, oh no, I'm hella work. We're hella just doing kung fu forms until I get good at them. When I get good at them, you'll be able to tell. Put it that way.
commands given to each ISB between lifetimes.
I used to be super good at them, but now I need hella practice. It's because I've been just hitting the bag.
Revolutionaries and geniuses is the cause of a very
So I just been hitting the bag and just chilling and practicing just very basic stuff like parry, pa, 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 and then then just basic shit. So I've been practicing on my footwork a lot and just moving, staying moving. Because it makes me a lot harder to hit if I stay moving
galaxies.
and just it is what it is.
The old empire, like Sirius, Aldebaran,
So
Pleiades, Orion.
so I just been practicing just motion and shadow boxing, right?
Named races
So when I spar, I'm able to consistently just keep it moving, slow, reach, step out. So, so I've been doing that to like try to lose weight and get my cardio better. And for when I spar, so that I can have better footwork around the person, because I think that's why I was slacking. I was very stationary, and now I'm still stationary, but it's more of like little things that you have to get better at. Like instead of being all moving all around, it's about moving with purpose. If I'm like I only have to dodge a glove. The glove is not very big. It's like this big, so I don't have to be like. I can just be like right here, right here, right here. I just have to move just a little bit. I just have to shift just enough for it to like barely miss me. That's where I'm currently at right now, skill wise. Trying to figure out how to be comfortable and how to keep doing that and how to maintain that. Obviously, the harder my opponent is, the harder it is to do that. But that's kind of where I'm at the moment, experience wise or mentally wise. What's your favorite move or combo? It is a German Shepherd. Just this, just easy. Hands up. You parry punch, jab, cross, hook, and then you come with the back leg. I like that. That's easy. Or if I'm standing with my left foot, jab, cross, kick, step back, and then so get a little kick in. I like just really simple shit. Like I don't get crazy. It's just like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, block, kick, or 1, 2, side kick. Like just super simple shit. Here, deep, step back, jab move. I'm gonna set up the low leg, so I'm gonna throw this kind of cross. Doesn't really matter if I hit, because I'm just gonna go to the low, to the opposite leg or the inside thigh. Depends on how they're standing. So I think that's more so my idea. So like when I do Kung Fu, I'm doing a lot of like, I don't know, I'm doing these, you know. So what is that? What does that mean when I'm kickboxing? It just means that I'm doing this. My hands are up, punch. I either cover myself like this, or I move out of the way. But the idea is that I go here, I turn, boom, and my hands kind of frame on the person. So, but that's how I've adapted Kung Fu. Little things like that. So where I'm like, boom. You know, what does that mean in kickboxing? For me, it's jab, step, make sure my hands are on the person, keep, cross. You know, it's unlimited. You don't have to stop at that. You can just do whatever. But that's how I translate one to the other. I think Kung Fu helps me balance and helps me like do weird orthodox patterns. What I'm doing is like, so when I'm going like this, right? One time, a guy was jab cross, and I dodged like this. And it's kind of it was a very similar, because I realized I could have been, boom, bah, and we're, boom, bah, you know. So I think it's about how well you know Kung Fu allows you to use it that much in kickboxing, or in MMA or whatever, if you have enough level of combat experience. It's heavily based on your level of combat experience. If you're super comfortable to hand-to-hand combat or standing up or wrestling or anything, you're gonna be able to put your own twist and flavor into those. So if you do Kung Fu and you're super comfortable with sparring and you know you're okay and you know you're not gonna get hurt and you know you can defend yourself or you can do it, or you just like it, you're gonna be able to try to do a lot of those techniques where I stand like this, boom, or whatever, you know. It's that, boom, here. It's just for split seconds. Just for very split seconds. None of this happened. Yeah, look on my page. No, hey, protect it, protect it. Don't be such a baby. Look on my page. There's videos of me sparring in MMA or like kickboxing and stuff like that. So no, there's videos on this channel. There's videos of me sparring in different situations where I do kung fu, and it is what it is. It just works. Or if it doesn't work, you get to see me get hit the moments it doesn't work. And the moments it works, you get to see me do it. And the moments it doesn't work, you get to see me get punished or get caught by a counter or whatever. Like, it's not that crazy. I don't know why people's perception is so outdated. It's very outdated of him to think like that, because all you have to do is just check the page and see if he does anything, Under videos, it's there. So that's what's more. I don't know. People are weird. People don't want to train. They don't want to accept things. They just want like a cheeseburger and have it be served right then and there fast. They don't want to take the time to like learn things. Oh, that's why it separates people that do martial arts and people that don't do martial arts. Take the time to learn things. Okay. Let's keep going. Let's keep doing the form. Even though I do like shadow boxing.
One must be able and willing to use force tempered with intelligence to prevent harm to the innocent. However, extraordinary understanding, self-discipline, and courage are required to effectively prevent brutality without being overwhelmed by the malice that motivated the brutality. Only a demonic, self-serving government.
I do enjoy shadow boxing and doing shit like that, but I told myself I was gonna do kung fu. With attitude, I don't mean to have attitude. My apologies. You just gotta train. Stay positive. You gotta train. I apologize.
We out here, folks. I mean, we out here, dude. It ain't easy.
It ain't easy being cheesy.
end-to-end life cycle of the creation of a machine to the running of a machine to eventually the destruction of a machine is really a combined human machine effort as well.
Why do you want to bring back Minute?
Power is power.
My arm wants to pop so badly.
Sun-type 12 class 7 civilization. Yeah. Once the Isbis, expelled from the old empire, arrived on Earth, they were given amnesia and hypnotically tricked into thinking that something else had happened to them. The next step was to implant the Isbis into biological bodies on Earth.
My cat's being super annoying.
Populations of false civilizations, which were designed and installed in the minds of Isbis to look completely unlike the old empire. All of the Isbis of India, Egypt, Babylon, Greece, Rome, and medieval Europe were guided to pattern and build the cultural elements of these societies based on standard patterns developed by the Isbis of many earlier similar civilizations on some type 12 class 7 planets that have existed for trillions of years throughout the universe. In the earliest times,
Hey, what are you doing,
Isbis
cat?
sent to prisoner lived in India. They gradually spread into Mesopotamia, Egypt, Mesoamerica, Archaea, Greece, Rome, medieval Europe, and to the New World. They were hypnotically commanded to follow the pattern of a given civilization by the old empire prison operators. This is an effective mechanism to disguise the actual time and location from the Isbis imprisoned on Earth. The language, costumes, and culture of each false civilization are intended to reinforce amnesia, because they do not remind the Isbis on Earth of the original old empire planets
Shit, that's
from
hard.
which they were deported.
I know it doesn't look hard.
On the
but-
very far back track of time,
It is
these
actually
types of
hard
civilizations
to
tend
balance
repeat
myself and
themselves
kick for
over
whatever
and
reason when I'm tired.
because the Isbis who
It could
created
probably because
them
I'm tired and it's
become
super early in the morning.
with certain patterns and styles and stayed with them. It is a lot of work to invent an entire civilization
But I'm kind of enjoying
architecture, language,
the weird part
mathematics,
of learning Kung
values,
Fu,
and
how
so
weird it
forth.
feels,
It is
how
much
awkward it
easier
is.
to replicate a copy based on a familiar and successful pattern.
It's like, will I be able to make these motions fluid even though they're weird?
A Sun Type 12 Class 7 planet
And
is
the
the
reason I have to do it so
designation
slow is so I can understand the motion for himself.
oxygen-based life forms.
If I go fast, I won't
The
fully
Class 7
grasp what's
planet is
happening.
based on the size and
I have to
radiation
feel like
intensity
this
of the
little
star,
turn,
the distance of the
every little
planetary
thing.
orbit from the star, and the
That's how I
size,
know my
density,
body's fully
gravity,
connected.
or chemical composition of the planet. Likewise, flora and fauna are designated and identified according to the star type and class of planet they inhabit. Got that? So what are the other ones? Do we get to find out what our
I have to
brother
feel
and
that
sister
connection
planets
of
are?
the turning
On the average, the percentage of planets in the
between
physical
my back
universe with a
rotating
breathable
this way
atmosphere is
and my
relatively
body
small.
rotating this
Most
way.
planets do not have
It
an
connects.
atmosphere upon which life
Just have
forms
to
feed,
seek it.
as on Earth,
In a good way?
where
Thank
the
you.
chemical
Thank you, bro.
compositions of the atmosphere provides nutrition to plants and other organisms, which in turn support other life forms. When the domain force brought the Vedic hymns
Now this move I don't like.
about 8,200 years ago,
I do not like that move.
societies already existed. The Aryan people
I just do it because it's part of it. But I think it's supposed to be if somebody tries to come at you with both hands, you grab their hands and pull into their face, which could be which it could happen. Not with gloves on, or maybe with even gloves. Like I feel like somebody in Muay Thai has done that. Grab somebody's hands out of the way and then kick them. I feel like it's have to have happened in Muay Thai. In a pro match, like something Sanchai would do or something.
500 BCE, these hymns are primarily found in the Rig Veda, the oldest of the four Vedas. They consist of
And then that
praises,
weird
prayers,
punch that I don't
and
understand
mantras
either.
dedicated to various deities like Agni, the fire god, Indra, the king of gods, and Soma, a ritual drink. These hymns are recited
Like I'm
during
never gonna
rituals and
punch anybody like
ceremonies
this.
and are considered to have spiritual and philosophical significance.
But if I did,
They also cover a wide range of topics,
maybe I should
including
know how to
cosmology,
put
ethics,
power
and
into
the
it.
nature of it.
If I ever actually had to, but I don't think I ever will.
Brought the Vedic hymns. I mean, that would make
Seems
sense.
very unlikely.
If there is some like deeper knowledge out there that exists, that would have been brought to us by a more intelligent species. So the Vedas were learned by them, memorized and carried forward verbally for 7,000 years before being committed to written form. During that span of time, one of the officers of the Domain Expeditionary Force was incarnated on Earth as Vishnu. He is described many times in the Rig Veda. He is still considered to be a god by the Hindus. Vishnu fought in the religious wars against the old empire forces. He is a very able and aggressive Isbi, as well as a highly effective officer, who has since been reassigned to other duties in the domain. How cool! That's such cool lore. This is so cool.
Ugh.
If this is reality,
Want to know why I choose Robinhood Gold for managing my money? Check out this APY on uninvested cash. With Robinhood Gold, you get significantly higher rates than with a gold subscription. Ready to level up your investment potential? Subscribe now. Make the most of your money with Robinhood Gold.
Guess what I'm trying today? So easy to share a still life of my snack on Instagram. Love how this turned out.
reality is like the best science fiction novel of all, right? If this was true, that would be just the best. Now you're thinking, which is it, Chris? Do you like this? Do you not like this? I don't know. I like the idea of this like soul battle going on. Like the science fiction nerd is like thriving right now, but you know the human, which is on the outside of this is kind of scared. But you know, either way, I think incredibly entertaining, to say the least. This entire episode was orchestrated as an attack and revolt against the Egyptian pantheon installed by old empire administrators. The conflict was intended to help free humankind from implanted elements of the false civilization that focused attention on many as superstitious ritual worships demanded by the priests who managed them. It is all part of the mental manipulation by the old empire to hide their criminal actions against Isbis on Earth. Whoa, okay, so the ancient Egyptians were the empire. And then the ancient Hindu was, you know, the domain Isbis. A priesthood or prison guards were used to help reinforce the idea that an individual is only a biological body and is not an immortal spiritual
My
being.
sweat.
The individual has no identity. Individuals have no past
Peanut
lives.
butter and jelly
The
the
individual
long
has
way.
no power. Only the gods have power. And the gods are a contrivance of the priests who intercede between men and the gods they serve. Men are slaves to the dictates of the priests who threaten eternal spiritual punishment if men do not obey them. What else would one expect on a prison planet where all prisoners have amnesia and the priests themselves are prisoners? The intervention of the domain force on Earth has not been entirely successful due to the secret mind control operation of the old empire that still continues to operate. A battle was waged between old empire forces and the domain through religious conquest between 1500 BC and about 1200 BC. The domain forces attempted to teach the concept of an individual immortal spiritual being to several influential beings.
I need to have like a. I need to get a wooden dummy.
One such instance resulted in
But alrighty, Mr. Miyagi. I'm new, so check out your channel and learn your ways of striking. I'ma head out. Nice stream. You're not lying when you said kung fu. You're kung fu in Chile. yeah. I'll see you later, brother. Subscribe and stick around. I do martial arts and flow arts, and I do gaming on this channel, so stick around. I'll catch you. Drop by. Comment in videos. Be brutally honest. If you think it sucks, tell me it sucks. If you think it's cool, tell me it's cool. We're homies. It's all good.
This is the work of the old empire amnesia operation. It is easy to teach this altered notion to beings who do not want to be responsible for their own lives. Slaves are such beings. As long as one chooses to assign responsibility for creation, existence, personal accountability for one's own thoughts and actions to others, one is a slave. As a result, the concept of a single monotheistic God resulted and was promoted by many self-proclaimed prophets, such as the Jewish slave leader Moses, who grew up in the household of the Pharaoh Amenhotep III and his son Akhenaten, and his wife Nefertiti, as well as his son Tutankhamun. The attempt to teach certain beings on Earth the truth that they are themselves Isbis was part of a plan to overthrow the fictional, metaphorical, anthropomorphic panoply of gods created by the old empire mystery cult called the Brothers of the Serpent.
Hey, Kilala.
Known in Egypt as the priests of Amun. They are a very ancient secret society within the old empire. Hold on, the Brothers of the Serpents. Is the old empire reptilian? But didn't the reptilians say that these other guys were evil? That's an alien propaganda going on here. The Pharaoh Akhenaten was not a very intelligent being, and was heavily influenced by his personal ambition for self-glorification. He altered the concept of the individual spiritual being and embodied the concept in the sun god, Aten. His pitiful existence was soon ended. He was assassinated by Maya and Perenifer, two of the priests of Amun, or Amen, which the Christians still say, who represented the interests of the old empire forces. The idea of one God was perpetuated by the Hebrew leader Moses. Whatever paint problems you run into, Sensor has a premier primer. Covers it from A to Z. Look for the bullseye wherever you buy paint.
Oh, is this the hard part?
While he was in Egypt,
Kilala.
he left Egypt with his
Shashkili.
adopted people, the Jewish slaves.
Yes,
crossing
hush.
the desert, Moses was intercepted by an operative of the old empire near Mount Sinai. Moses was tricked into believing that this operative was the one God through the use of hypnotic commands, as well as technical and aesthetic tricks which are commonly used by the old empire to trap Isbis. Thereafter, the Jewish slaves who trusted the word of Moses implicitly have worshipped a single God they call Yahweh. The name Yahweh means anonymous, as the Isbi who worked with Moses could not use an actual name or anything that would identify himself or blow the cover of the amnesia/prison operation. The last thing the covert amnesia hypnosis prison system wanted to do is to reveal themselves openly to the Isbis on Earth. They feel that this would restore the inmates' memories. This is kind of crazy. This is kind of nuts right now. We're in pretty nutty territory. All right, now I'm not saying you lost me, but these are really interesting details that I think, I guess, are important for the story. I don't know. This is the reason that all traces of physical encounters between operatives of space civilizations and humans is very carefully hidden, disguised, covered up, and denied or misdirected. This old empire operative contacted Moses on a desert mountaintop and delivered the 10 hypnotic commands to him. These commands are very forcefully worded and compel an Isbi into utter subservience to the will of the operator. These hypnotic commands are still in the effect and influence the thought patterns of millions of Isbis thousands of years later. Incidentally, we later discovered that the so-called Yahweh also wrote, programmed, and encoded the text of the Torah, which when it is read literally or in its decoded form, will provide a great deal more false information to those who read it. Ultimately, the Vedic hymns became the source of nearly all of the Eastern religions and were the philosophical source of the ideas common to Buddha, Zoroaster, and other philosophers. The civilizing influences of these philosophies eventually replaced the brutal idolatry of the old empire religions and were the true genesis of kindness and compassion. You asked me earlier why the domain and other space civilizations do not land on Earth or make their presence known. Land on Earth? Do you think we are crazy or want to be crazy? It takes a very brave Isbi to come down through the atmosphere and land on Earth, because this is a prison planet with a very uncontrolled psychotic population. And Isbi is entirely proof against the risk of entrapment. As with the members of the Domain Expeditionary Force who were captured in the Himalayas 8,200 years ago. I like how all of a sudden Errol's like, you think I'm nuts, bro? Coming to Earth? Coming to this crazy place? Yeah, Errol can't hang with us, man. We're too uncontrollable and psychotic. No one knows what Isbis on Earth are going to do. We are not scheduled to invest the resources of the domain to take total control of all the space surrounding the area at this time. This will occur in the not-too-distant future, about 5,000 Earth years, according to the time schedule of the domain. At this time, we do not prevent transports from other planetary systems or galaxies from continuing to drop Isbis into the Amnesia Force Screen area. Eventually, this will change. I love how this just became like a clerical, bureaucracy-related problem for us. We're like, please free our souls from this eternal prison planet. And they're like, yeah, we'll get to it. Yeah, we got you scheduled down for 5,000 years, so not too long considering, the 80 trillion years of existence. Should only be another 5,000 years, so hang in there. And we'll get back to you as soon as we loop back around, all right? I'm gonna circle back around to this problem in 5,000 years. Warm regards, the domain. In addition, Earth inherently is a highly unstable planet.
You're gonna turn on Wu-Tang and tell me right, you're right. I can't put on music on YouTube though, or I'll get copyright strike.
Is being used as a prison planet. No one else would seriously consider living here for a variety of simple and compelling reasons. Well, let's hear them out. Because I tend to disagree. I think the fjords are beautiful, just some amazing places on this Earth.
How cool would it be if I could play Wu-Tang stuff right now?
Colonize us. Number one, the continental land masses of Earth are floating on a sea of molten lava beneath the surface, which causes the land masses to crack, devastation as a result of the tidal waves and climatic changes. Okay.
Okay, we've been at it an hour. Let's switch up the techniques that we're doing.
When I'm on vacation, I want
I was practicing one form.
more of this. Welcome to
It's like a basic form that teaches you Kung Fu basics from a style called Six Elbows. But I only know that much of that style. I don't know that style in depth, unfortunately. I'm trying to get a car so that I can drive to see my Kung Fu teacher so I can learn the style in depth, because I feel like that's missing. And then I know some praying mantis Kung Fu, and obviously some tiger stuff, and some crane stuff, and some snake. I know I know more animal Kung Fu, and then like a little bit different motions of different things that I practice that I found useful for like sparring and stuff like that.
That's hilarious. That is pretty funny. That this, salty little being is like, your plan sucks. And the only reason I'm here is unnavigable. This is gravitationally anomalous, and we don't like it. We don't like coming here. We don't want to be here. This is a disgusting prison planet. I don't know. Our pilots seem to do just fine. Maybe you can take a note, Errol, on how to properly fly one of these things. Number 6. There are approximately 60 billion Earth-like Sun-type 12 Class 7 planets in the Milky Way galaxy alone. Not to mention the vast expanse of the domain and the territories we will claim in the future. It is difficult to stretch out resources to do so much more than a periodic reconnaissance of Earth, especially when there are no immediate advantages to invest resources here. Makes sense. I see you there. Not worth stopping by. Got it. On Earth, most beings are not aware that they are ISBs, or that there are spirits of any kind. Many other beings are aware of this, but nearly everyone has a very limited understanding of themselves as an ISB. One of the reasons for this is that ISBs have been waging war against each other since the beginning of time. The purpose of these wars have always been to establish domination by one ISB or group of ISBs over another. Since an ISB cannot be killed, the objective has been to capture and immobilize ISBs. This has been done in a nearly unlimited variety of ways. The most basic method to capture and immobilize ISB is through the use of various kinds of traps. ISB traps have been made and put into place by many invading societies, such as the one that established the old empire, beginning about 64 trillion years ago. Traps are often set up in the territory of the ISBs being attacked. Usually a trap is set within the electronic wave of beauty to attract the interest and attention of the ISB. And when the ISB moves towards the source of the aesthetic wave, such a beautiful building or beautiful music, the trap is activated by the energy put out by the ISB. One of the most common trap mechanisms uses the ISB's own thought energy output. When the ISB tries to attack or fight against the trap, fight back against the trap, the trap is activated and energized by the ISB's own thought energy. The harder the ISB fights against the trap, the more it pulls the IBS toward it and keeps them stuck in the trap. Or the ISB, you probably meant to spell ISB there. Throughout the entire history of this physical universe, vast areas of space have been taken over and colonized by ISB societies who invade and take over new areas of space in this fashion. In the past, these invasions have always shared common elements.
Okay.
Let's see what they are.
Sure.
Number 1, the overwhelming use of force of arms, usually with nuclear electronic weapons. Number 2, mind control of the ISBs in the invaded area through the use of electroshock, drugs, hypnosis, erasure of memory, and implantation of false memory or false information intended to subjugate and enslave the local ISB population. Check. Number 3, take over natural resources by the invading ISBs. Check. Number 4, political, economic, and social slavery of the local population. These activities continue in present time. All of the ISBs on Earth have been members of one or more of these activities in the past, both as an invader or as part of the population being invaded. There are no saints in this universe. Very few have avoided or been exempted from warfare between Isbies. Isbies on Earth are still the victims of this activity at this very moment. The between lives amnesia administered to Isbies is one of the mechanisms of an elaborate system of old empire Isbie trap. Well, that's interesting because again I reference Dr. Michael Newton and his books Journey of Souls, Destiny of Souls, and so forth, where the focus of the books is life between life. It is about our souls and where they go between lives. Now, this is proposing that whole
Kilala, hush!
Robinhood's new desktop trading platform is changing the game on how you can trade
Hey,
equities,
how you
options, and more, all from within your charts. Let me show you how I've set up my trading layout. First thing to know, you can build from scratch and start with a template designed to fit how you trade. Legend has powerful charting capabilities and allows traders to analyze market trends in greater depth. With technical indicators and drawing tools,
Okay.
might just be
Okay, I just scared him. Hopefully he hushes for a minute.
suggestion. If you created a being and wanted to control it, you would have to have some type of firewall or some type of, I don't know, some type of screen in place where if the physical body
Elena,
underwent
okay, you're a little baby.
regression, it would
You're a little
automatically
puppy
tap
baby.
into the information that was placed there for it to be uncovered.
And my kilali.
Right, so that all of these past life
Hey,
regression or between life
be
regressions
nice.
are actually just implanted false memories that are at the base of our consciousness in case,
My
we
baby kid.
breach this conscious barrier, like we do during hypnotic regression. I don't
This
know,
is
just an
Kilala.
interesting thought. Interesting and terrifying. This operation is managed by an illicit renegade secret police force of the old empire, using false provocation operations to disguise their activity in order to prevent detection by their own government, the domain, and by the victims of their activities. They are mind control methods developed by government psychiatrists. Earth is a ghetto planet. It is the result of an intergalactic holocaust. Isbies have been sentenced to Earth either because, one, they are too viciously insane or perverse to function as a part of any civilization, no matter how degraded or corrupt. Two, or they are a revolutionary threat to the social, economic, and political caste system that has been so carefully built and brutally enforced in the old empire. Biological bodies are specifically designed and designated as a lowest order of entity in the old empire caste system. When an Isbie is sent to Earth and then tricked or coerced into operating in a biological body, they're actually in a prison inside a prison. Okay, it gets worse. Cool. I will say, it is kind of funny that they're like, you're either a deviant pervert or, freedom fighter. I bet like most people watching out there are like, oh, I think I know which one I am. I mean, it's kind of insane that like they just, put two categories out there. Number three, in an effort to permanently and irreversibly rid the old empire of such untouchables,
Nabi, don't be licking stuff.
the ethereal of the eternal identity, memory, and abilities of every Isbie is forcefully erased. This final solution was conceived and carried out by the psychopathic criminals who are controlled by the old empire. I mean, that's a bit of a,
Nabi, move.
final solution in quotes. Obviously referring to Hitler. And here we go, the mass extermination of untouchables in prison camps created by Germany during World War II were recently revealed. Likewise, the Isbies of Earth are the victims of spiritual eradication and eternal slavery inside frail biological bodies inspired by the same kind of craven hatred in the old empire. So we're just basically incarnations of the worst the universe has to offer. Or some of the best. The kind and creative inmates of Earth are continuously tortured by butchers and lunatics who are controlled by the old empire prison operators. The so-called civilizations of Earth, from the age of useless pyramids to the age of nuclear holocaust, have been a colossal waste of natural resources, a perverted use of intelligence, and an overt oppression of the spiritual essence of every single Isby on the planet. If the domain sent ships to every corner of the universe in search of hell, their quest could end on Earth. What greater brutality can be inflicted on anyone than to erase their spiritual awareness, identity, ability, and memory that is the essence of oneself? Oof. Wow. Yeah, that would be a big tragedy, wouldn't it? The majority of the lost members of the Domain Force have followed the general progression of Western civilization from India into the Middle East, then to Chaldee and Babylon, into Egypt, through Archaea, Greece, Rome, into Europe, to the Western Hemisphere, and then all around the world. The members of the Lost Battalion, and so many other Isbys on Earth, could be valuable citizens of the Domain, not including those who are vicious criminals or perverts. Unfortunately, there's been no more method conceived to emancipate the Isbys from Earth. Therefore, as a matter of common logic, as well as the official policy of the Domain, it is safer and more sensible to avoid contact with the Isby population of Earth until such time as the proper resources can be allocated to locate and destroy the old Empire force screen and amnesia machinery and develop a therapy to restore the memory of an Isby. So once again, we're kind of here waiting for a ride, but ain't quite ready. You know, one thing I will say though,
Sweating,
this
friends,
is the
sweating.
worst. How can we still feel love? How can we still feel joy? Right?
It's tough. These are good questions to ask yourself in general.
Pales in comparison to what's actually out there. Who knows? But I'm quite happy with this place. And if I can be happy in hell, well, I can be happy anywhere. So I'll leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts below. There's a lot to digest there. Some of this, you know, does feel somewhat like it could have legs. You know, again, I'm not here to ask you to believe or not to believe, and I'm not going to tell you whether or not I believe it or don't believe it. But I do feel like it's very interesting that some of the concepts that have been talked about here were actually mentioned by the Farsight community, who I've looked into quite extensively recently, which is a group of like remote viewers that task themselves with certain things. They remote view this book, for instance. They'll remote view Bob Lazar, for instance, and all these other things that are just out of our reach, and then, you know, report on that. They have like different remote viewers. So a lot of the stuff that comes up in here, you know, has been corroborated by them. Take that for what it's worth. A lot of other, you know, books, when you look at Journey of Souls, and, you know, you look at some of the stuff that Matt Brown, the whistleblower, has talked about. Yeah, there just seems to be more and more corroborating evidence, but, you know, it is what it is. It's a story for now, maybe forever, but an interesting one at that. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next video. Peace and love.
Hell, let me look for something else to put on.
Once X5 came around, the leader of the team, KG Inafune, knew it was time to move on. Unfortunately, Capcom had other plans. Before he knew it,
Or maybe I'll leave this on.
slapped on his desk, leading to the series never truly getting the ending it deserved. But a completely different team of ex-Capcom staff was ready and willing to produce their own spin-off. And surprisingly, they managed to cook up a glorious finale to the saga that started all the way back in 19XDX. Folks, welcome back to my mini-series covering the history and lore of Mega Man Zero, we must begin with two vital visionaries, Takuya Aizu and Yoshihisa Suda. After working at Capcom for a couple of years, they pooled their money together with other creators of the company and formed their own studio, NT Creates, in 1996. Aizu was the CEO, while Suda was the vice president. They had a bit of a rocky start, releasing games that didn't quite hit the way they wanted them to. But Suda's passion changed everything. Having previously worked on Mega Man X2 and Mega Man 7, Homie was a big fan of the Blue Bomber. He was actually the creator of the green biker dude who got bodied in X2. Now I see why so many people didn't like it when I called him useless in the last video. My bad, green biker dude. I commend you for trying to be X's partner even though you were nowhere near his level. Due to Suda's love for the Capcom series, he was itching to make a Mega Man title. In an interview recorded in Mega Man Zero, the official complete works, Aizu recalled that the guy used to hound Inafune about it. Now, something interesting I found while doing research was this interview of Aizu and Suda, originally done by US Gamer, but now on VG247. Here they elaborate a little more on what led to the birth of the team, but we're also given some conflicting information. For example, it says Aizu was a Mega Man super fan, and that he's the one who worked on X2 and Mega Man 7. So just to be safe, I'm gonna stick with the interview and the official complete works, because, well, it's the official complete works. Not trying to call these guys out or anything, I just wanted to bring it up because I saw this article a lot while learning about the company. Anyway, after all those requests, Inafune finally hit the team up like, bro, y'all keep saying you want to make a Mega Man game, but have you ever thought of, I don't know, sending a proposal? With that, they got to work on concepts.
My arm.
Their initial idea was a Far
The
Cry
motion makes my injury go crazy.
in fact, it didn't even star the right player, so Inafune said that's what he wanted.
But I gotta get used to it.
He saw this as the best chance to give his character all the shine he deserved.
Like regular punches, I can do all day. But I don't know what about that bringing my head back. When it's just like something about it coils weird. Like this.
By far, my favorite artist from this franchise, Toru Nakayama. But amazing as it was, they'd soon find out that they probably should have listened to at least some of Capcom's thoughts. During the Tokyo Game Show, the team
Like,
pulled up to a room filled with a bunch
that
of
kind of stuff I can do all day.
This led Nakayama's art
But
to
when
Inafune.
something about that whole
The Mega Man producer felt the
it
concept
like
was a little
messes with my collarbone.
It needed to be done as a Mega Man game, and as dark as the series was at that point, it was still meant to be child-friendly. So NT Creates continued with revisions. They made the armor for characters more pointy, because that's what kids were into, and designs were simplified so the transformation to pixel art was easier. But outside of those initial critiques from Inafune and Capcom, they were given a decent amount of freedom when creating this title. Some many later adjustments made for continuity purposes and the like were done because they wanted to make this game fit neatly within the Mega Man universe without any confusion. For example, since the X series continued after X5, a big priority throughout the whole process was altering Zero and X's appearance. They wanted them to look different enough so people didn't confuse them for their Mega Man X counterparts, but close enough so fans still knew they were X and Zero. Stuff like that is so dope because it just goes to show what can happen if you give a fan a shot at developing a game for a franchise they really care about. They took it upon themselves to make sure their story fit within the established timeline. Meanwhile, we had professionals creating the lore of their own game. Once 2002 came around, all their hard work paid off as Mega Man Zero was
I also have to be careful not to punch myself. The punch is like this covers and this comes.
The team talked about how thankful they were to Capcom for allowing them to truly take the wheel with this game. They also gave a ton of love to Nakayama, as it was his superb art that helped them to properly visualize their ideas and establish their world. Now, to avoid accidentally giving any spoilers to the overall plot, I'm going to stop the development part here. Don't worry though, y'all know I'm a big ass nerd, so I'll still sprinkle in a bunch of interesting facts here and there throughout the video. But before we get into the lore, I want to say something. If you didn't already know, Mega Man Zero is a series that you
Okay,
guys
so
are
we're
going to
getting
get
in
the
there.
chance to discover the gold within this series and geek the hell out about it. So without much further ado, let's continue this timeline and talk about how the Mega Man world gets even more tragic.
Why don't you own apartment buildings? Seriously, why don't you own these big apartment buildings? And I get it. You might be thinking right now, well, Tyler, my word, it's because I don't have millions and millions and millions of dollars sitting in a bank account. That's why, right? But just for a
Sweaty.
second, I want to challenge you to think bigger.
I'm wearing my Vegeta bottle armor because it's sweaty.
Because despite this common belief that people cannot own these things, I'm going to tell you right now, it does not matter how much money you have, how old or young you are.
Continue this timeline and talk about how the Mega Man world gets even more tragic. So in case you missed the last two videos, here's a quick summary.
Alicio, what's up?
Dr.
We are doing Kung Fu today.
One of the great robots capable of making their own decisions. He became famous.
It's not the most entertaining stream, but I have to do Kung Fu today.
Wiley, a robotic genius in his own right, was always thrown in his shadow, so he developed an obscene level of hatred for the guy and turned into a supervillain bent on world domination. One of Light's most treasured inventions, Rock, would then ask to be altered into a robot capable of stopping the crazy doctor. Light does so against his better judgment, and thus, Mega Man is born. Then the classic timeline ensued, with most of it involving Mega Man and Light boarding Wily's teams. But years later, Light decided to go crazy on
Oh, it's killing my arm.
the robot with infinite potential, Mega Man X. He would be the first creation to fulfill Light's dream, as he could think for himself and make his own decisions. However, the doctor had to let him cook a while longer, because he couldn't just release him to the masses without some type of QC. Elsewhere, Wiley invented Zero, his ultimate weapon, but the dude was born with the incessant need for smoke, so the doctor sealed him along with his other project, the Maverick virus. Unfortunately, both of these geniuses died before they saw their finished work. But according to this Q&A session that Capcom Unity had with Inafune, it looks like Wily might have actually put his essence in the virus. When asked what happened to him between classic Mega Man and X, he basically said that he died but was brought back from the virus. So take that how you will. Fast forward to 21XEX. Dr. Kane finds the remains of
Hello, Gooey. Welcome back.
X, and using him as a base, he develops advanced robots called Reploids. By the way, I made the mistake of calling both X and Zero Reploids in my last video. My bad, they're not. In a way though, you could kind of take X as the father of Reploids since they're all based on his design. Oh wait, that's kind of cool. Light went down in history as the father of robotics, and now X is kind of sort of the father of Reploids, so, you know, nice little connection there. Life with the Reploids is chill initially, but some start going haywire and hurting humans because Kane didn't do the same level of testing that Light did. The humans called these robots Mavericks, and then established that Maverick hunters to put a stop to them. With Kane's greatest creation, Sigma, as the leader. X joins them, and they begin arresting these guys until Zero wakes up and starts wrecking shit. Sigma goes to fight him, gets disrespected with the pipe, but still manages to win by the skin of his teeth. However, he catches the Maverick virus from the guy and slowly starts going evil. Meanwhile, Zero's renegade stack was already maxed out, so the virus brings that shit back to Zero and purifies him. Sigma then recruits a bunch of hunters and incites an anti-human rebellion, thus sparking the Maverick Wars and the Mega Man X series. As the final hope of the hunters, X and Zero fight against these Mavericks for at least a century. On one end, this is cool because they develop a strong partnership throughout their fights, even though their creators hated each other. Well, more like Wily hated life. But mad humans and Reploids die because of this war. Zero questions what he's fighting for, ends up fighting X, and honestly, shit just keeps getting worse the longer it goes on. So after the Red Hunter realizes that he was the original carrier of the Maverick virus, and probably invented a plethora of Reploids from just going on missions, he decides to seal himself so the virus can be studied. Now, there are two main scientists responsible for this task. One is a mystery scientist we'll get into later, but the other is Dr. Weil. And before you ask, Weil and Wily are two different people. In that Capcom Unity interview I mentioned before, Inafune straight up said they're not the same person. Now, could this be a possible descendant? Sure.
My
But
feet.
first you have to ask yourself if there was a woman alive.
The second hour is always harder than the first hour.
By studying the Maverick virus, the mystery scientist is able to create a cyber elf, which is essentially the physical manifestation of a sentient computer program. This one, which they named the Mother Elf, can return Mavericks to normalcy. So X uses her to finally put an end to the Maverick Wars, and the study on cyber elves continues. However, Weil isn't down for this. He sees more potential in the Mother Elf, and thinks these Reploids should be punished for all the war and strife they caused. So he proposes Project El Paizo. Combine the Mother Elf with one Reploid so they can use it to control the minds of all Reploids. That way, none of them can harm humans ever again. And Two's pretty much trying to reverse Light's work. As you'd expect, some humans are down. But X is like, whoa, relax. Rightfully so, because for a lot of these Reploids, going Maverick wasn't even a choice. So the Blue Hunter puts a stop to the idea. But while this crazy-ass psychopath Wild saw Wily and Sigma, it was like, nah, y'all didn't have enough ambition. Then he corrupts the Mother Elf, turning it into the Dark Elf. Following that, he makes clones of it, of the baby elves, and sends them across the world to incite quite possibly the most devastating event in this timeline, the Elf Wars. Reploids around the world begin fighting without reason.
Huh?
Shit gets so bad that Project El Paizo was approved.
Now do a one finger push up. I wish I could.
Omega.
Do you have Shingy teacher or this is self taught? Hey, you knew it was Shingy. Yay, you recognize.
I see why people speak so highly of the Elf Wars. This shit sounds
I don't really have a Shingy teacher. My Kung Fu teacher does Tai Chu and Animal Kung Fu. And I think Chen style Tai Chi. But I had different teachers growing up. And one of my Kung Fu teachers, he would teach me like Southern Shaolin Animal Kung Fu. But he would teach me a couple elements of Shingy. And then a couple of things about Bagua. Like he only had me do circle walking. And then he only had me do metal. And then I picked up water afterwards. So a mixture of self-taught and had teachers, but not a specific Shingy teacher.
yes, I listen to them, and yes, I will be adding their info to this video.
What is animal kung fu? Like kung fu styles, wushu style, or I guess whatever you want to say, Chinese martial arts styles based on animals, like a tiger or whatever snake, whatever it might look like, you know, fucking crane, praying mantis, dragon, like different animal styles. Those would be those kind of things. How long have I been doing kung fu? Since I was I'm 33 now. Since I was 17, and then around 21 years old or so, I started doing kickboxing, and I focused a lot more on kickboxing and Muay Thai type stuff. And then I realized that once I got better at those things, I was like, okay, now I need to get better at kung fu again. So that's why we're doing our forums and stuff now. So we can like try to get better at whatever kung fu is. Until I can use the emotions in actual combat, I guess. And for whatever else, right? But I personally, I do mostly praying mantis kung fu, and then some tiger, and then some snake. And then I do some of the Shingy motions because they're simple and easy to practice. They're just simple, kind of like shadow boxing. I think that's really it. I don't really mess with anything outside of that. Obviously kickboxing and stuff, but that's just kickboxing. You ever use a nunchucks? When I was young, a kid, I used to play with nunchucks, but now I use a rope dart. If you look on my page, there's... Hang on. If you look on my page, there's videos of me sparring under the video tab. There's videos of me sparring. If you look under shorts, there's videos of me doing my rope dart. So you can check out that stuff if you want to. Martial arts background makes your contact unique, and that's cool. Thank you. We did talk about that. It does make it kind of different, I guess, because I'm trying to do kung fu with my sword and not so much flow. But I gotta upload some stuff that I uploaded on TikTok to show you, Alicia, for my like contact sword stuff. It's in my
scorching
eyes.
fire and ash, and uses the multiple launchers Sodom and Gomorrah. So when I first heard these names, I thought they were mad cool. But this is also a biblical reference. In the book of Genesis, Sodom and Gomorrah were two cities God destroyed because of their wickedness. This reference goes even deeper because of a later event. But hold on, we're getting to that. Lastly, Fairy Leviathan leads the deep sea squadron. Her name comes from the sea monster of the same name from biblical stories and mythology. With her frost javelin, she's tasked with helping Harpuya make areas outside of Neo Arcadia habitable for humans. Now, according to the official complete works, these guys, or at least their weapons, weren't originally made for combat. They were initially the controls of the weather controlling station, Weather Orbit. They were also supposed to be all blue to reflect that they're practically X's children. But Nakayama designed them with different colors so they could visually represent their element. Harpuya was thunder, Leviathan was ice, Fafnir was fire, and Phantom didn't have an element. The team was originally met with resistance at this choice because normally blue represented X and red represented 0. But they decided to go through with the idea because color is very important when distinguishing characters, especially when we're talking about pixelated ones on a GBA screen. Neo Arcadia continues to prosper under X, but our boy student realizes that the Dark Elf is still a problem. He brings it to Yggdrasil, the most secure area in the city. This is another nostalgia reference, as Yggdrasil was the name given to the Tree of Life, which housed the 9 realms. X then seals the Dark Elf using his body. According to the now deleted timeline that was on the Rockman Zero Collection website when it first launched, when X sealed the elf, the shock ripped his soul from his body and split it into 5 different cyber elves. 4 of them incorporated themselves into the 4 guardians, while the other went off somewhere. Someone mentioned this in the comments of the last video, and at first I didn't think it made sense because the guardians were made before the Dark Elf was sealed. However, it's still possible that these elves incorporated themselves into the guardians while they were out and about. The Mega Man knowledge base also knows that each guardian embodies a specific side of X. Harpuya is strong sense of justice, Leviathan is playful and determined side, Vethner is fighting spirit, and Phantom is dedication to his cause. So maybe these strong emotions came from the cyber elves, or maybe they just came from X's DNA. Let me know what you think in the comments. With X gone, a young girl named Ciel quickly realizes that society will crumble without her. So at the age of like 9, she creates a so-called perfect copy of X. This part of the lore
Pixel.
actually came about merely a month before the game's release.
Bro, there's some contact stream. I love that. I like to, but the problem is when I do contact streams on YouTube, they get copyrighted because of the music.
One day they said,
So I can't.
wouldn't it be lit if
I can only
X
do them
was
on
villain?
TikTok.
To that, Inafune was
Otherwise,
like,
it just get hella copyrighted.
but at the last minute, they thought it'd be kind of crazy to put this guy who all young Mega Man fans saw as a hero as a villain. So they changed the main antagonist to a copy of X. That led to the idea of CL being his creator. But due to how young she is in Mega Man Zero, that would mimic she made him as a little kid. So they added more lore to make sense of that.
Otherwise,
Apparently, to
I totally would.
for Reploids and humans, researchers were doing experiments on human DNA.
Like every now and then. But I don't like the channel getting copyrighted.
Skills that she's a Reploid genius. I also remember reading that she's a descendant of the mystery scientist who created the Mother Elf, so it's possible that they used her DNA for CL. Copy X secretly takes up the leadership role of Neo Arcadia, with even the Guardians unaware of the switch. However, his rule is a lot stricter than X's. He has the original's inherent nature to protect humans, but he's lacking in his compassion stat, especially when it comes to Reploids. Then everything goes south when Neo Arcadia is faced with an energy crisis. Copy X declares that the Reploids are the problem. To conserve it for the humans, he begins deeming random ones maverick and killing them mercilessly. The Guardians carry on like this is regular shit, but the gentle judges peep that something is off. X was never this quick to execute anyone. Many
Foo.
Reploids run away into the wastelands outside of Neo Arcadia.
Are those streams under a subscription? They are not under a subscription. They're just like regular streams. The only reason you can't go back and watch them is because of the whole copyright. Once it gets copyrighted, it doesn't let you go back and watch it. In your room, just different stuff like clothing and just like boxes. It's just clothing and boxes. I checked your TikTok but couldn't find any. You can't find the live streams on TikTok. They don't save. You have to watch them as they happen. But I upload clips from the live streams on TikTok. And here on YouTube I do as well. But then, the gaming streams and like Kung Fu streams, I keep those on YouTube because it makes more sense. And then flow streams I keep on TikTok.
Things got bad in the Mega Man Zero part of the timeline, but I did not expect
But unlike YouTube, TikTok does not save my streams for the public. Like, it saves them for me. Like, I can go back and watch them and clip them and whatever. But unlike YouTube, people cannot go back and watch them. Only I can. That tea bag is broken and I just got a bunch of dirt and tea in my mouth. Let me go get something to drink. Get back, Nelly. Hang on.
The first states that a robot cannot injure a human being or through an action allow a human being to come to harm. That was referenced back in classic Mega Man when little homie was trying to kill Wily, but the doctor knew he couldn't do that. In this case, it sort of explains why Copy X is acting the way he is. X, being more human than any Reploid out there, could have probably made a choice that was fair to both Reploids and humans to solve the energy crisis. But Copy X isn't on that level. The preservation of humans comes first, and an action is against his programming. He's still going a little overboard, though, let's be real. The second law states that a robot must obey the orders of humans unless it conflicts with the first law. And the third states that a robot must protect its own existence, as long as doing so doesn't conflict with the second or first law. As the series goes on, I'd say these games show how these laws do more harm to the Reploids than good, and also give us a different impression of what going Maverick actually means. The timeline has attached this negative stigma to it, but what if going Maverick, for some Reploids at least, isn't a sign of a virus or a defect, but similar to what Luminate said.
Okay, I'm back. I'm ready. Ready for more training.
A sign of a Reploid believing in something
Gotcha. Thank you.
they're willing to break the laws of robotics, and in turn, become more like their fleshy counterparts. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
I haven't decided how long I wanted to do this for, like an hour maybe.
It's been 100
Train
years
those these motions, these two motions for an hour.
A Reploid named Milan and a bunch of other resistance members are currently on the run from golems and pantheons from Neo Arcadia. Golems are mechanaloids that were built by the city to enforce peace, but now they're used to chase down resistance members.
Get down.
Pantheons were originally built
Get
to
down,
help
you
humans in
beautiful
Neo
creature
Arcadia,
from God.
and as you can see, they were heavily based on X. They're also now being used to fight against the resistance, but their bodies are pretty weak since they weren't made for combat. I also think it's interesting how all the different kinds of pantheons are like base pantheons, but with different colors or different armors and weapons. It's like it's meant to draw a parallel with how X got more powerful with his armor. Ciel and her party make it
Now we
to
move.
the Forgotten Laboratory, where they find the hero she was looking for, the Red Hunter himself, Zero. But he's still sleeping. The Neo Arcadian army then closes in and takes out everyone but Ciel. With no options left, Passy sacrifices herself to wake up the warrior, and we're blessed with one of the coolest cutscenes in Mega Man history.
Which will be here.
Ma'am, this means something to me. I still get chills watching this scene. The music, the pain of showing you the badass character you're about to be using for this whole adventure. The feeling of knowing you're the only thing stopping this girl from getting captured. Everything about this moment just hits. Sure, there aren't any animations or whatever, but Zero don't need that shit, bro. The aura emanating from my man is enough. Then as if homie couldn't get any cooler, he picks up Milan's regular ass resistance buster and goes to town on everyone who was trying to chase Ciel and them down. Mind you, Zero woke up with no memories. Ciel was just like, Zero, please help me. And Zero was like, heard you. Maybe I'm giving this intro a little bit too much credit, but I don't know. I feel like the way Inti Creates set this up, veterans of the series could get hyped because Zero's back and he's the main character this time. But newcomers
I like your
me also
tire.
get hyped because of what led up to this.
Hi,
and how
Kilala.
fire Zero looks.
Kilala,
Like,
shut
peep
up.
the way he cool guy stands.
Hey, Kilala, don't
Look
be
at
eating
how
dog
his
food.
hair flops in the wind as he's running. Inti Creates was investing in that cool factor and it paid off big time.
It has
Anyway,
nothing
Zero
to do
makes
with
light
you.
work of the army while traversing through the lab. But Ciel ends up leaving herself open in the perfect spot to get captured by a golem. Zero tries to save her, but that baby resistance buster can't do shit. Suddenly, a random cyber elf appears and is like, Zero, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this! And hands him his true weapon, the Z-Saber. With it, he bodies a golem and saves
Kilala.
He has nowhere
Don't
to
be
go.
trying to
He
eat
falls
dog
for the
food.
resistance base.
You're a
Which
cat.
explains the whole Neo-Arcadian energy crisis problem, but says that X is the one doing all this, not Copy X. Zero is confused by this, as X sounds familiar to him. Even though his memory might be hazy, deep down, he knows his best buddy would never do this. Either way, he agrees to help CL the resistance. Now, I'm not going to go into every single resistance member, but here are a few important ones that I genuinely like. Servo was like your cyber blacksmith. Throughout the series, he gives you different weapons. In this game, along with the Buster and Sea Saber, Zero gets the Shield Boomerang and Shovel Rod. Andrew's an older Reploid who's honestly just here to give good vibes. He tells you stories about his past, and in this game, he talks about the time when he fell in love with a human. And went as far as to change his appearance so they could both look old together. That's a level of love I hope you all get to experience.
Bro, my mom started to do Kung Fu in Barcelona. Hilarious as fuck. When did she start doing it? Because I've heard there's legit Kung Fu schools in Spain, bro. Like, I've heard that there are legit Kung Fu schools in Spain. I did Jiu-Jitsu myself. Getting struggled is so crazy. Struggling is good. But it's good to better yourself. It is always good to better yourself. And it affects your flow. Whatever you do is the base of your flow. So it dictates how you're going to move. Especially under pressure. So I think that's... We can do more than that. We can do a little more of that, you know.
Awesome as hell. I know I said it before, and I'm sorry, but damn, did Nakayama cook. These Mutos Reploids are the dopest things that come from this franchise. Aztec Falcon is based on, well, the Falcon. But the Mega Man knowledge base also noted that he's inspired by the solar and war deity of sacrifice in Aztec religion, Huitzilopochtli. When you put them side by side, it's hard to deny the similarities. Along with that, in the official complete works, Aztec Falcon is described as a warden and executioner to all Reploids deemed maverick. This could be a stretch, but that sacrifice part about the Aztec god kind of links up with this executioner bit.
Kilala.
Zero beats Aztec Falcon.
Kilala. Hey, get down.
Afterwards, Hale gives him a bunch more missions meant to either help the Resistance or sabotage Neo Arcadia. Of course, each mission ends with the boss. Don't worry, no roll call this time, but I'm still gonna go over each one. We can start with the Mechanaloids since they're not that important. The Pantheon Corps manages all the trade routes for goods and military equipment going into Neo Arcadia, so Zero destroying it deals a heavy blow to Copy X. And Guard Optic is a Mechanaloid that was sent to seize a Resistance factory that has energy crystals. Now for the fun bosses. By the way, I may mispronounce a lot of these guys' name. I might have already mispronounced a lot of stuff, so sorry in advance. Sorry if I already mispronounced some things. There are a lot of biblical, mythological, a lot of crazy references in this shit. So yeah, they really test my pronouncing skills. Not gonna hold you. Mahagani Sharif is another Mutos Reploid. He's based on the Hindu elephant god Ganesha. He's described as being a walking, combat-ready data server, which I think is pretty freaking cool. He also belongs to Leviathan's Deep Sea Squadron. Anubis Necromantis III, based on the Egyptian god and guide to the underworld Anubis, works for Theft. Apparently, he's a product of an undamaged heart unit that regenerated itself using nanobots and declared itself the Third. Okay. Blizak Staggerov, inspired by the White Stag, is another member of the Deep Sea
So I
Squadron.
messed up.
He enjoys dismantling Reploids under the guise of questioning them.
But little by little, I get the thing about the motion.
Who seem to enjoy fighting Zero.
Have you ever done jiu-jitsu? Pretty sure you'll dig it. I've done Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but I haven't done Japanese jiu-jitsu.
How hyped he is to be fighting a strong Reploid.
Bro, she's almost 70, so it's super cool. Damn. Your mom's getting out there. Even on an old age, she's like, screw it. I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want to do. That's what's up. That is definitely what's up. No, I've done like grappling, like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but I haven't done Japanese jiu-jitsu.
Those are famous last words for someone who's gonna become the homie later. Meanwhile, when you meet Phantom, he's like, legends of the past need to stay in the past. It's like everyone is hyped to face Uncle Zero, but they know saying that will get them in trouble. And we have Phantom being a hater because his fake dad told him to. While going on these missions, Zero also collects elemental chips meant to enhance his abilities. Neo Arcadia also sends a big-ass mechanaloid named Hittite Hotei to try and promote the
Pretty sure. Yeah, I do the Brazilian one, nogi, especially. That's cool. That's the Brazilian. That's the jiu-jitsu I like. I mean, I like Japanese jiu-jitsu, but I've never seen just the Japanese jiu-jitsu school. All I see is Brazilian jiu-jitsu schools.
They have a way to teleport right into Neo Arcadia's stronghold, but they need to hack into the
So
place's
that's all.
security
Anybody
cameras.
that I've ever sparred and we wrestle, that's usually what they do. And sometimes they do like Western wrestling, like
Knows
Greco-Roman,
exactly what they needed.
but
They
usually it's
also
just
played his
Brazilian
cyber
jiu-jitsu.
Rolodex by telling them to terminate the copy of him with extreme prejudice. So, one, if that whole soul split into five cyber elves thing is true, this would be the one that went off on its own. But two, X telling these guys to exterminate his
Yeah, I
copy
literally
with
kung fu
extreme
chilling.
prejudice might just be the funniest thing he said in this timeline.
Like this motion, how I'm like here, and then I step. Uh, this is how I do it. We're here, I jab, 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 maybe switch angles, throw an awkward cross. Then I jab, and then when they put their hands like this, or they block the jab like this, I bring the hand down, step. Is that easy? Jab, jab, bring the hand down, step, and then you have that punch, that weird water punch. But just instead of doing it in a straight line like this, jab when I jab and bring that down like a hook. When I bring it down is bring it down, step to the side. I load it, then I throw it, and then back because usually something's coming. That's how I turned that into kickboxing.
Always gotta go. With that, Zero heads straight into Neo Arcadia. He fights more bosses and
I was coaching kids how to spar. Yeah, I was teaching those guys how to because they don't want to learn kung fu. They don't want to learn kung fu or kickboxing. They just want to learn boxing.
the guy
But I'm not the best boxer ever. I'm like okay. I'm not very good at boxing. So I told them like
Zero
I
finally
can teach you like footwork and boxing and stuff, but like it's all based on kickboxing. Like I don't just do boxing. It's all based on like kickboxing, kung fu. It's based on like maybe even MMA that somebody's gonna take me down, so I sprawl. So but it's not based on just my hands. So I tell them that, and they still like, no, please teach us. So I'm like, all right, yeah, whatever. I'll teach you whatever I can, as much as I can.
laughs this off.
Those are like, but those are the most recent ones. Like, I like the ones where I go to other people's schools and spar, like open night sparring or whatever. I like those the most.
Forced into a second format
Or when I did that kickboxing competition.
This leads to a pretty somber ending.
I do like the old Pride. Yeah, it's all good. It's all cool. I like current UFC. I like One FC. I like Pride stuff. I like what was it called?
And according to
King One.
now, he's getting killed.
Like all that stuff is chill with me.
Led to him harming his fellow mechanical
Okay, we still have battery. That's good.
Copy X can't just let Zero win. So with his dying breath,
Pilala, hush your face.
our boy escapes just in the nick of time. Later, we find him laid out in
Oh, do you mean like Pride, like LGBTQ Pride? It's all okay in my book.
century ago. However, the most difficult moment was when he realized he no longer cared about fighting enemies. He asks his friend to let him rest and to please handle everything from here. Zero stands up and is basically like, I've got you, best buddy. I will stop till all my enemies are terminated. Then before him, he finds an army of pantheons. He begins taking them on by himself. And with that, the first game comes to a close. So originally, the first Mega Man title was supposed to be it. NT Craze didn't plan on doing a sequel until the end portion of production. They felt like they created some memorable characters in this game, and it would be a shame to end all their stories just like that. And I'm sure I speak for the majority of the fan base when I say I'm happy they continue. However, before we get to the lore of Mega Man Zero 2, I've got to introduce you to a special Reploid from the Neo Arcadia.
This is the part that I don't always understand from this.
Yet, but his serial number is TK31. In the Clockwork Apple and Irregular Reploid audio dramas from the Telos Remaster Tracks album,
I'm not a huge fan of that motion.
sometime between the beginning of the Energy Crisis and the start of Zero 2, he takes part in an investigation led by Harpuya.
Do you
Before they go, the
do you do any post standing or just these two movements? Post standing, you mean like holding postures? I hold postures. I do like this posture.
Inspired the knowledge is forbidden
like I don't know the name of this posture, but it's a Qigong Shingi posture. You kind of, it's hard to see, but you kind of stand like a fetus. You kind of stand like a weird fetus with the tongue on the roof of your mouth, with like the metal rod in your head going down through your spine, trying to align. I used to do this. I used to do this post a lot. Now I don't do it as much anymore, but I should. But I don't do Qigong as much, or like at all. I need to practice. I need to add Qigong to the practice. But it's just like this. So that's one. So I used to do that all the time. I did that for like, I did just standing for like 2 to 3 years. I just stood, and that's all I did. I just did a lot of the standing postures. And then obviously you have your metal posture. And I can feel where I need to align. Oh, that's my pop. El Paiso. Yeah. I'm also wearing Fugees as well. Does that make it cooler if I'm wearing Fugees? So most standing still is fucking hard. I used to know a Shingi rooster form, but I cannot find videos of myself doing it, so I can't relearn it because I don't have any videos of me doing it. But I used to know a Shingi rooster form. It was cool. But I don't remember how it goes. I don't remember how it goes. Like, yeah, no, I don't remember how it goes. I just remember I liked doing it back in the day.
Zero is also met by Cyber Elf X. He warns him about the baby elves,
Oh.
telling him that they'll do anything to return to their
Oh,
mother.
I hate standing still.
Drive someone mad. Yeah, that can't be good. The next boss is Polar Cameras.
What was the confusion you had during the mental movement? What do you mean? Which part? I mean, you're gonna have to be a little more specific.
In Ainu mythology, Kamui are divine and spiritual
Mental
beings.
movement? I'm confused.
Cameras. Couple that with the fact that bears are very prominent figures in Ainu mythology, and the reference makes even more sense. Phoenix Magnian used to work for Phantom, but now works under Fenrir. He's of course based on the Phoenix. And lastly is Panther Flaw Claws. He's from the Strong Air Squadron and is based on the Black Panther. But the last section of his name is a possible reference to something that goes way deeper than I imagined. So there's a 17th century grimoire, yes, grimoire, called the Lesser Key of Solomon. It contains material about magic and sorcery written by multiple anonymous authors. Now there's a book within it called the Ars Goetia, which goes into detail on a bunch of different demons. One of them, Floros, was a great duke of hell who was commonly represented as a humanoid leopard with big claws. Claws, Floros, and the big claw thing, bro. Inti Crates did not have to cook so hard with these references. I didn't think researching a fictional story about robots would lead me to a real-life book about magic. I didn't even know the Lesser Key of Solomon was a thing until now. They said video games can't teach you shit. Also, now's a good time to say that homie over here wins best boss design for this title. Dude had no reason looking this cool. And screw it, let's make a little game out of it. In the comments below, let me know your favorite boss designs for each game. Maybe I'll tally it up and we can make like a definitive tier list or something. I don't know.
Oh,
Anyway, after completing these missions,
leg burn,
they are now ready to
leg
advance
burn.
Operation White
Fool, I'm going to take care of. I'm going. Take care, bro. Take care, guys. Okie dokie, Alicio. Te veo más tarde. See you later, brother. Metal, not mental. The movement version of your standing doing. Oh, okay. I don't really have a confusion with it as much as just this. Just doing this part doesn't always connect because there's different styles of shingy and some styles do it differently. Like some go like this, bring the hand all the way in, all the way out, then out, your foot turns out, then you do out, then you do it. Another style is just like this, another style is you just throw it forward, and then you do it. So it's just a matter of, like my confusion is which one to do and why is there slightly different styles based on different families or whatever the fuck. Seems kind of silly. But I like both. I like. Yeah. So they do it like different. Like this one kind of has this backhand, this rolling backhand motion. The other one has more of a up, out, then down motion. I know Shingy originally was made with spears and staffs in hand, so it makes sense if I have a staff.
Zero gets a call from baseline that a bombardment aircraft is on the way to them. They need him back now. Since Vecnir and Leviathan are still salty about getting their asses handed to them in the last game, they poke fun at the fact that our boys' friends are in danger of dying. However, Vecnir says something about how sending bombs is not really his thing. If the Mega Man knowledge base is right about that whole carpet bombing strategy he implemented back in the day, then homie straight up lied here. But that's besides the point. Zero teleports back to base with El Paizo. Then once they're gone,
Okay.
he says that he doesn't think that destroying the resistance.
Okay, we have 2 hours of Kung Fu. Let's lift some weights.
Must be eliminated. This is a pivotal moment for the Green Guardian because he's aware that what they're doing may not be for the better good. But due to the loss of robotics, he can't just sit idly by while harm humans. Technically, you can say that this is the first time of him going Maverick. Back at the resistance base, Zero and TL managed to defuse Neo Arcadia's bomb. Zero faces Coolivist Angus, the brother of Hercules Angus from the first game. He's based in the Stag Beetle, known as the Kuwagata in Japan. After Zero beats him, he shows regret for not being able to avenge his brother. Afterwards, Zero returns to base, but El Paizo and the baby elf are nowhere to be found. He left a message apologizing for his failed plan, but saying that the only reason why it failed is because he didn't have enough power. So now he's gonna get that power to destroy Neo Arcadia and all of humans in order
Message retracted. Oh no.
Escape just so they can fight, or as she calls it, play. After he wins, she says that his strength drives her crazy. Then something similar happens with Harpuya. The Guardian appears right after El Paizo manages to evade Zero's grasp again. He says that he got the IFF beacon and wonders why he's moving on his own. But he ends up shrugging off the thought to fight Zero. Then after our boy beats him, the loss fills Harpuya with more joy than anything else. Homie's like, yes, I love that you're still this strong. Only you can make me feel this alive, Zero. Then when he runs into Fepnir, the guy admits that he was chasing after El Paizo originally, but he's more hyped when he gets to face Unk again. After he loses, he tells Zero that he had fun. He even hits him with the see ya afterward. What? Oh, it's like, since Phantom is gone, all the other Guardians feel freer to express how lit it is to hang out with Uncle Zero. Just going off their dialogue, it genuinely feels like they'd be super depressed if Zero ever died. But that's just me. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments. To be real, I think it's kind of adorable. Anyway, once Zero returns to base after failing to capture El Paizo, the former commander hits him up like, what's good, Resistance? I'm coming to you live within Yggdrasil, the most secure area in Neo Arcadia. And the place where X sealed the Dark Elf. With that, he removes the seal, but something goes wrong. Cyber Elf X then tells Zero that he's trying his best to hold the Dark Elf back, but he needs to go and stop this psychopath. So Zero heads back
That
to
shit
Neo
is dirty.
Arcadia for his final mission. He goes through the traditional gauntlet, which includes fights against Leviathan and Fepnir in their second forms. When he gets to the Temple of Wind, he finds El Paizo, the baby elves, and a half-awoken Dark Elf. Harpuya is there too, but El Paizo is in the process of controlling his mind. The Guardian is doing his best to resist. This is a wild turn of events when you remember that Harpuya was in charge of the mission that led to El Paizo turning into this mess. Out of frustration, he uses the baby elves to take full control, then leaves so he can destroy X's body and fully release the Dark Elf.
Hey.
Harpuya asks our hero to kill him, but Zero manages to take him down without doing all that. He proceeds to face El Paizo, but the guy paralyzes him, with nothing stopping him. To remind you that 60% of sales on Amazon come from independent sellers, Tracy from Movies of Charleston will watch 60 contestants eat 60 hot wings, all covered in Disney hot sauce.
Ooh, honey, don't touch your face.
Proceeds to face El Paizo, but the guy paralyzes him. With nothing stopping him, he destroys X's body. Then he fuses with Kreia, and their mother. Zero is forced to face his new form, and somehow he gets the W. Afterward, El Paizo apologizes for everything he's done. He says that he was weak-minded and pathetic, and that it's hard to accept failures, but this one feels like it made him stronger. The Dark Elf then changes color, which scares the baby elves away. She turns El Paizo into a Cyber Elf, and they both leave. Cyber Elf X appears and tells Zero about the Dark Elf's past, how she was once the Mother Elf but became corrupted. Zero feels like he knows her, which could be a reference to the fact that she came from studying the matter virus within him. And the title comes also like how Inti creates reference to Wily numbers from classic Mega Man in this bit. Anyway, back to the Resistance. Once Zero returns, he tells them that getting the Dark Elf before Neo Arcadia should be their top priority. He later speaks with Servo, who grants him the Shield Boomerang and new Recoil Rod. Then once the operators are ready, they give Zero his first 4 missions. This time the bosses are the wild numbers. The first is Blazin' Flizzard, the former Left Flame Judge. He was originally built to work in hot places, and his combat mode is based on the Frill Neck Lizard. Now, all the judges are classified as Mutos Reploids, but I'm not sure if they've always had their combat modes or they got them when Wild did its redesigning. If you do, let me know in the comments. Next is Childry in Arabita, the former Left Ice Judge. His ice abilities were meant to stop overheating, but now he's the most brutal of the Wild numbers. As for his inspiration, he's based on the white hair of Inaba, an old Japanese folktale. That's why it's Inarabita. Inaba, rabbit. Then there's Nickelback Shield, the former Right Thunder Judge based on the bat. And fun fact, his design seems to be based on the scrapped second form of Phantom. The last of these 4 bosses is Death Tan's Mantis, the former Moonlight and Vice Chief Judge. He's based on the Mantis and was originally built for execution. Apparently his battle prowess was so top tier that he was given an especially durable blade sharpened at the atomic level. Are they trying to get this guy to cut vibranium? Cause jeez. While Zero's taking these guys down, he runs into Kreia and Preya, but they don't like him. They berate him for pushing their mom around a century ago, and go as far as to call him a faker. Later they meet up with Wild, who tricks them into helping him by saying that he created the Dark Elf, so technically he's their grandfather. In Neo Arcadia, Harpuya tries talking some sense into Copy X, but his master is long gone. Instead of listening to the Guardian, he demotes all of them. He believes that Wild has learned from his mistakes, so in the worst move possible, he puts him in command of Neo Arcadia's army, and the timing couldn't be more perfect for the Mad Doctor, as he reports that he found the location of the Dark Elf, so they begin working on a missile that will get Omega to it before anyone. Back at the Resistance, they find out about this missile, but have no idea where it's being aimed. They send Zero over to the missile factory to try and stop it, and in the process, they find out that the weapon is being sent to a human district. This dude Wild is wildin'! Zero attempts to thwart his plans, but the baby elves hold him off long enough for the missile to hit its target. Once Zero gets to what's left of the place, he's too late. Omega fuses with the Dark Elf right in front of him. And the asshole baby elves ask the monster to take out Zero. Harpuya comes in to try and help, asking Wild if this wasteland is where he wants justice. But Omega mops the floor with him easily. Zero knows they're in no condition to face off against this guy now, so he and Harpuya return to the Resistance. There, the Guardian is sent to Servo for repairs, but Neo Arcadia is ready so they have any time to regroup. Since they have the Dark Elf, they offer a proposition. The Resistance has no hope of winning this war now, so Wild and his puppet ask for Ciel's energy system. They can combine it with the Dark Elf to obtain all the energies. But Ciel is like, you risked the lives of countless people just to get the Dark Elf. You think I'm gonna trust you with my work? Kick rocks. So Copy X is like, fine, bitch. I was holding back because you're a human, but screw that. You have a monopoly on power and that dangerous Warrior Zero backing you up. We're just gonna end all of it. Bye. With that, Neo Arcadia pulls an Operation Righteous Strike and sends a task force straight to their front door. Leading the charge are 3 or 5 Mutos Reploids from previous titles. Anubis Necromancis the 5th, a new Machine R, and Blazek Stagroth R. After taking them out, Zero is finally confronted by Copy X Mark II. The Fate asks Zero why he'd side with extremists. All the humans are on Neo Arcadia's side right now, so anyone against them must be a bad guy. But Zero hits him with the most real statement he's dropped so far. What's the value in the justice that complacent humans seek? This is one of the reasons why Zero's story is so dope to me. It instills the fact that this isn't just a battle between good and evil.
Ooh, get that extra rep in there. Ooh, that burns.
Involved robots protecting humans. Copy X is still stuck in that belief. However, Zero presents an even more valid point. If the humans in Neo Arcadia are not even involved in all this, are they really the ones that the Reploids should be listening to? When you put yourself in the human shoes, it's easy to side with Copy X because from the inside looking out, it just seems like Zero and the Resistance are attacking them during an energy crisis. However, once you get past the walls, it becomes obvious that the Reploids and the Resistance are fighting for their freaking lives. All this perfectly displays how so much can change if we all take a second step back and see things from another perspective. As we see here, being stuck in your own bubble can be extremely detrimental to your growth and society. Life lessons aside, Zero and Copy X then duke it out, Starboy coming out on top once again. Afterwards,
They're all private. On WhatsApp, no one can see their universal messages. Not even us. But my heart still really goes out to this guy. Once again, Copy X thought he was doing the right thing. He just wanted to be a hero. But no matter what, he
Hang on.
always
Do one more.
gets
One more.
shafted. X even suggested Wiley might have rigged him to explode. But fam, shit's about to get worse. Wild sent out a broadcast in Neo Arcadia announcing that Zero and the Resistance killed their leader, Copy X. Remember, the humans had no idea Copy X even died in Zero One. Then he declares that according to Ordinance Number 8, this makes him the ruler of Neo Arcadia. His first command, eviscerate the Resistance. In response, X questions if the Mad Doctor is trying to repeat the events that led to the Elf Wars. So they did, because if he is, they need to stop him yesterday. Back at the Resistance base, Zero's given his last 4 missions, and stopping him from completing them are the final 4 gentle judges. First is Cupid Foxstar, the former Right Flame judge. She's based on the Kitsune, the trickster fox from Japanese mythology. She uses night remote-controlled machines called the Nine-Tail Fires to mess with her opponents in battle. She also wins the award for best boss design in this game. It was close, but her resemblance to Renamon gave her the W, not gonna lie. Next is Glacier Le Capitang, the former Right Ice judge. He's based on the Barrel Cactus and was originally built to bring vaccines and drinkable water to isolated areas. Third is Voltile Biblio, the former Left Thunder judge. He's based on the eel, but his second name, Biblio, is a prefix that pertains to books. This represents the fact that he guards the same sunken library that El Paizo investigated. And last is Tratesta Calvarian, the former Dark and Chief judge. He's based on Cerberus, the 3-headed dog that guards the gates of Hades in Greek mythology. What makes this reference go even harder, though, is that this guy actually has 3 individual thought processes that debate every decision to allow for the keenest level of judgment. Homies like Alien X from Ben 10, but a million times weaker. Sadly, when Weil altered the judges, this messed with his thought processes. So now we don't think too good. After beating this set of bosses, Zero returns with data on the Elf Wars and the Dark Elf. Harpui is doing better now, so he goes to speak with him. But the guy explains that being here sucks. Being cast out from Neo Arcadia was one thing, but getting help by the Resistance? Ew! So he leaves to try and stop Weil. After reviewing the data Zero got, the Resistance then discovers the truth about the Elf Wars, but Weil is always watching. He throws a big-ass L at them right after by speaking to the Resistance operators. He tells them that Omega is perfect now. He's able to control all Reploids without the need for baby elves. With that, he begins to control the minds of Reploids around the world. Son, I'm sorry. Can't we just pay our respects to this man, please? This dude's not only committing a plan more evil than anything Wily or Sigma came up with, but he's winning, bro. He's outplaying everyone right now. He tells the Reploids and humans that this is what they get for banishing him. Now he has a whole world in the palm of his hand. His last command to his Reploid army is to inscribe his name on the world. You see what I mean? They should have killed this guy when they had the chance. They heard Weil, thought it was Wily, and underestimated him. Now look, world domination. Luckily, CyberElf X is able to disable the brainwashing within the vicinity. And thank God it doesn't work on him or Zero. Once they collect themselves, they head out to destroy Omega and stop Weil once and for all. However, according to the Light and Shadow audio drama, X has a little backup plan set up. At the beginning of the title, a Resistance member named Tyrondell mentions how the appearance of Omega opened up a rift into cyberspace. This is sort of the afterlife for Reploids. X found Phantom here and asked him to help Zero now that he's fighting for the safety of humans and Reploids. But Phantom states that he will only be the blade for X, no one else. What he can do is test Zero to make sure that he's capable of taking on this challenge. I want to be mad, but this makes perfect sense for his character. Phantom is loyal to Daddy X and Daddy X only. Except for that one time with Copy X, but we don't talk about that anymore. Afterward, he and CyberElf X find Leviathan and Fafnir drifting in cyberspace. X asks him the same thing he asked Phantom, but they tell him no because Zero is their prey. They want to fight him, not help him. However, they hit us with the whole, but only we're allowed to beat him, so we're gonna help anyway shtick. Back to Zero. On his way to Omega, he enters cyberspace and fights against Phantom. The Guardian he knows everything about the Dark Elf and the Elf Wars, but he still thinks Zero is unworthy. However, after Zero beats him, he changes his mind and encourages our boy to cross blades with Wild's monster. Once he confronts the Doctor, the guy continues ranting, calling the humans Little homie couldn't make the decision, but Zero's like, screw it, you're the problem. In a way, it shows that the minds of mechanical beings have improved, I guess, since 20xex. Before Zero can do anything though, WoW sent Omega to retire him, but our boy still wins, even against his second form. But this win reveals something shocking. This whole time, Omega was wearing armor. Now that it's destroyed, we see his true form. It's Zero. Then Weil, as cocky as ever, announces that this is the true Zero. All the way
Oh
back
shit.
when Omega, before the Elf Wars, he used Zero's original body. Zero doesn't have time to comprehend this though, because Omega is sent at him for another round. Luckily, he defeats him once again, but the Dark Elf leaves his body and starts healing him. Our boy is left speechless, but then the Guardians appear to back him up. Along with that, the corruption of the Dark Elf starts fading. Now this is mad cool to watch happen in game. Like we're finally seeing Zero and the Guardians work together. However, a Newgrounds creator by the name of Flame Zero made this whole moment even cooler with the sprite animation Mega Man Zero The Last Cataclysm. I originally watched this back when I was in like middle school, but I remember it being so dope that it got me into sprite animation for all of like a month. Yeah, I tried it and it was mad hard. I had no idea it was going to be that tedious. Regardless, I just want to bring it up because I feel like anyone interested in Mega Man Zero lore would really, really love that video. I'll left the link in the description. Anyway, Cyber Elf X then comes in to reassure Zero with the truth. His body may not be that of the original Zero, but his heart definitely is, and that's what matters. With newfound resolve, Zero delivers the finishing blow to Omega, which causes him to explode. Afterward, while he's lying unconscious, X contacts him to tell him that his energy is fading. He's leaving everything up to him now. He needs to defeat Weil and save the world. Later, he wakes up in the Resistance base to see the now uncorrupted Mother Elf. She leaves soon after, and Zero wonders if they should follow her. But Ciel insists that they should let her rest. People have been using her left and right after all. The title then ends with Ciel encouraging Zero, just like X did in the battle with Omega. He steers off into the distance and declares that he is Zero. Now it's time to bring this saga to a close. Let's get into the next chapter and talk about the final game in this timeline, Mega Man 04. So, as always, I have some fun little development facts before we continue. While the team was working on 03, they were under the impression that that was the end. That's why that game was so wild lore-wise. In the official complete works, they even mentioned how the intensity of 03 put them in an awkward spot when drafting 04. They originally planned for it to take place between 01 and 2, within that year where he was fighting Pantheons non-stop. That's why he was given the Zero Knuckle as one of his weapons. Since his shield, boomerang, and triple rod were broken, he used it to steal weapons from his opponents. They later decided to just make the game a sequel. The fans felt that there was still more story to tell, so they agreed to make this title the definitive end of the Zero saga. With that, let's get to the lore. Mega Man 04 begins with a monologue from a new character named Each. And she's human! Crazy, right? She gives us a short summary of everything that's happened so far. Since Omega's defeat, Weil has maintained control of Neo Arcadia. You're probably wondering why the Guardians didn't try to stop him. Well, that's cause they're dead. Yup, Omega's explosion killed him. The Mother Elf only saved Zero. Crazy. As you probably guessed, Wild's rule is way worse than Kodiak's. So humans started leaving Neo Arcadia in the troves. Niche and her caravan are some of those humans, and they're currently being chased down by Wild's army. He replaced the Pantheons with a slightly tougher variants. This could be a stretch, but I'm guessing them going from blue to purple is a base reference. However, Wild's name in Japan is Vile, so it could also be a Va reference, but in turn, does that also make it a base reference still? Because isn't Vile in and of itself a base reference? I don't know. It could be a Va reference, it could be a base reference, y'all get it. Luckily for the caravan, Zero and the squad pull up to rescue them. But what
Okay.
they mean, you can tell the rest of the
I'm gonna pause the stream so I can finish doing weights.